25th at 7:30 p.m. Ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to back 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches. And it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't. But, yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Adam Kaufman in for Craig Mish today and all week. Thrilled to be back with you. We got a ton coming up over the course of the next hour. Of course, we will mix in some golf. We will mix in some baseball. We'll get to the business of sport, what is going on television. But it is also a big day in the NBA. Welcome to Draft Day, everyone. We all know Cooper Flagg is going number 1 to Dallas. But what happens after that? What kind of trade volume are we going to be looking at? There have already been a bunch over the last couple of days, including from the no longer defending champion Boston Celtics. Of course, that is the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are the reigning champs at this point in time. But the Celtics continue to retool and reconfigure their roster. We'll get to those details. And you have other deals involving stars, either current or former, around the league moving, and what deals still are in front of us tonight here on Draft Day, other potential movement around the league. There's a lot to explore. Of course, we sit here in late June, and that means football is right around the corner as well. There have already been OTAs. Training camp is right around the corner, and then it's going to be time for preseason football into the regular season, and the months-long grind that takes us to February should be an absolute blast. And we found out, not that it was any big surprise. Heck, we talked about it just a little bit on yesterday's show and alluded to the inevitability of it, I suppose. That is the fact that Aaron Rodgers, in all likelihood, is playing his final NFL season after a couple of decades in the league. He made that all but official, chatting with Pat McAfee on ESPN after our show yesterday. So I guess we were little ahead of the curve in terms of the conversation. Says he is, as you can see, quote, pretty sure this will be his final NFL season, to which I say, okay. I mean, who's surprised by this? Of course, it's his final year. And he went on and on talking about his budding relationship with Mike Tomlin, and that was part of the allure in going to Pittsburgh. And this is a good situation with the Steelers. He's going to empty the tank and give him his all. And this is why he only inked a one-year deal for around $13-14 million. Didn't press for extra years. I think somebody needs to remind the apparently recently married Aaron Rodgers that, no disrespect, just reality. He's not that good at football anymore. The guy is a future Hall of Famer, first ballot. He's won a Super Bowl. He's a 4-time MVP. He's one of the great ones. Take nothing away, obviously, from what Aaron Rodgers has accomplished in his NFL career. You see some of the numbers there. The four-time first-team All-Pro, 10-time Pro Bowler, all of it. Thing is, after the 18 years in Green Bay, things have kind of gone south. He had the Achilles injury, and my God, how much are we talking about Achilles injuries lately between Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard? Of course, he had that Achilles injury all of 5 snaps or whatever it was into his New York Jets career, went on to miss that entire season 2 years ago, comes back to his credit, works his way back, all the rehab, everything, plays last year as a 40-year-old and played 17 games, but he was fine, right? Fine at best. The team stunk. So much for, Super Bowl expectations going into the year. Jets went 5-12. Absolutely awful. And Rodgers, statistically speaking, in a year where you're generally not considered to be all that good, an era, unless you throw for at least 4,000 yards. He was on the cusp. He was 3,900 and change. But the QB rating, down in the bottom third of the league. QBR, bottom 5 in the league. He was just not good. And so I think we could just look at this in a broader sense, a bigger picture, and say, yeah, of course it's going to be a final year with Pittsburgh, because what's left in the tank? Short of an injury to Lamar Jackson, you're not going to get past Baltimore, and I don't think you're getting past Cincinnati either, despite what one of our guests said yesterday, that the Pittsburgh Steelers are there playing for the 2 seed in that AFC North. I'm not buying it until I actually see it. So, Aaron Rodgers, look, I wish you well. I would like to see you play well. I would like to see the show, and maybe you get yourself another year in Pittsburgh, but he talks about this being a 1-year thing because he's pretty sure that's all he's got left in the tank. Well, for Pittsburgh, this was smart business as well. You do the 1 year, you see what happens after that, just as they did with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson last year. You think they weren't happy, mostly, to move on? I know they tried to bring back Justin Fields, but generally speaking, I think they were okay with how that ended. Otherwise, they wouldn't have benched him partway through the year for Wilson in the first place. So Aaron Rodgers on his way out the door in Pittsburgh before he even steps into it. Meanwhile, as far as basketball goes, we mentioned, again, it is draft day in the NBA, and so we will be throughout the day here on SportsGrid, and with live programming on SportsGrid tonight, a very special draft show originating from our studios in New Jersey. There will be a lot of great content surrounding that, but there were more trades that happened yesterday. Just a couple nights ago, we saw Drew Holiday of the Boston Celtics dealt back to the Portland Trailblazers as the beginning of this breakup of the Banner 18, the title team of a couple of seasons ago. Really, it's financially motivated. Obviously, there's the Jason Tatum injury and the team moving itself, in the direction of saving going forward around all of these various tax penalties and second apron penalties. So the Drew Holiday move to bring in Anthony Simons got them pretty close to right at the line for the second apron, and putting them over the hump and then some was dealing Kristaps Porzingis, who in part of a 3-way deal, as you can see the details on the screen, went with a second-round pick to the Atlanta Hawks, Terrence Mann, Atlanta's number 22 pick, to the Nets, and Georges Niang and a second-rounder going to Boston. So, look, the Celtics get themselves under the second apron. They are still over and above the first apron for now. Could there be more savings on the way, dealing a Sam Hauser, for instance? The team is fielding offers for, Jaylen Brown and Derek White, listening and trying to decipher if any of those are worth exploring. Don't be at all surprised, though, if they open the season with a roster fairly similar to what they have right now in this restructuring, this retooling of a season for the Celtics, who honestly probably still win mid to high 40s as the roster exists right now, maybe even low 50s in a wide open Eastern Conference. For Kristaps Porzingis, who has really been unable to stay healthy throughout the majority of his career, but was a champion in Boston, of course, this is now an opportunity for yet another fresh start and yet another team, and maybe a second star even potentially there in Atlanta next to Trae Young. We'll see what this winds up looking like. We will explore it coming up in the next segment of our show, and we really dial in on the NBA as well. The other trade that happened, of course, the Pelicans moving CJ McCollum as he continues to dance around the NBA, going to Washington, along with Kelly Olynyk and a future second rounder for Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, and the number 40. So both these teams, Washington and New Orleans, have multiple first-round picks tonight, and an expiring deal for McCollum gets moved. Jordan Poole, this is another team taking a shot on him as he bounces around the league as well. Neither of these teams is going anywhere in the short term, but these are two 20-plus point per game scorers that find new homes and will continue to deliver, honestly, on mediocre to bad teams. On the diamond, meanwhile, exciting day yesterday. Atlanta Braves, continue to just beat up on the New York Nets. They were New York Mets, pardon me. They were trailing by a few runs early, unload for 5 in the 6th, hand those struggling Mets who have dropped 10 of 11, a 7-4 defeat. Not good. Dodgers and Rockies. Colorado was feeling pretty good about itself midway through that game with a 2-0 lead, and then the Dodgers erupted for a bunch of runs in a back-and-forth offensive affair, a 9-7 win in Colorado. Shohei Ohtani, yet another home run. Michael Conforto homered as well. The Cubs, boy, back-and-forth game with St. Louis, and ultimately it was an 8-7 Cardinals win in that one, a game the Cubs threw away, leading by multiple runs early. Not great. I happen to be on the Cubs' money line in that one. And the Yankees, they were walked off by the Reds, not unlike how the Red Sox in extra innings as well were walked off by the Angels. So not great for the American League East. We're going to get to a lot more NBA coming up next. Dexter Henry.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scotty, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Like, don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and okay, safe, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back here on NewsWire on SportsGrid. Smarter to be on SportsGrid, and hopefully we can educate you on all things NBA. Again, trades have been coming fast and furious across the league. None bigger, naturally, than the Kevin Durant deal going to Houston from Phoenix, but the Boston Celtics continuing to see what life, at least in the interim post Jason Tatum, looks like before they put themselves potentially in position to contend again during the 26-27 season. The latest, of course, Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday on the move. We bring in our first guest to the program, and that is Dexter Henry. Joins us from the New York Post, among other outlets. He is on Twitter at DHenryTV. Dexter, how's it going?
It's going good, man. Just trying to stay cool here in New York. Very hot. Just trying to stay cool. That's all.
Heat wave is real deal, man. I'm in the Boston area. Yep. We had over 100 yesterday, so I get it. Believe me. Yep. Let's talk about this Porzingis deal going to Atlanta. In your eyes, what does it mean for Boston, in part trying to, again, just sort of put a hodgepodge salary savings roster together for this upcoming season? Meanwhile, Porzingis trying to rediscover himself and actually stay on the floor for a full season, now playing alongside Trae Young.
Yeah, look, for Boston, I think this was expected whether they had won this year or not. There was going to be some cost cutting from them. And once the Jason Tatum injury happened, none of this was surprising. I think Boston has done a fantastic job here to get under the second apron as quickly as they have with these two deals, with Porzingis, with the Drew Holiday deal the day before. And you wonder if more is on the way. I heard you talking about that before, Adam. You wonder if more is on the way for them. Could they have a couple more cost-cutting moves? I think their goal is to just try to stay afloat, stay competitive, lower their costs, so by the time Jason Tatum returns, likely in a year from now, past next season, they can then get back to championship contention. They have some assets that can fill some holes. I think that's good for them. As far as the Kristaps Porzingis side of things here for Atlanta, look, this is a good low-cost flyer if you look at it for them. Porzingis has a year left on his deal. Atlanta is a team that has been stuck in play-in purgatory, shall you say. They're looking to see if they can jump up. And look, a lot of teams are going to believe they can jump up, some rightfully so, some foolishly, because the East is that wide open. I think you have the Knicks and the Cavs at the top of things right now. It would have been the Pacers if not for the Halliburton injury, but Atlanta thinks they could jump up. We've seen Orlando think they could jump up. Detroit, I think, watch what they do in free agency. Look, Atlanta's front court is going to be pretty good. Now they can move on from Clint Capella. They can put Porzingis at center. They can have him in the pick and roll with Trae Young, which could be dangerous. You have Jalen Johnson coming back. The key thing with them is, can Porzingis stay healthy? That's the thing. If he can stay healthy, can help that team. And I think they could be a top 4 team in the East. If he's not, it's going to be tough for them. But listen, it didn't cost them that much. I can't blame them for going for him. They had the cap space to absorb him. They still have a $25 million trade exception. So Atlanta trying to be competitive again, and we'll see how it works out for them. But I think health is going to be paramount for Kristaps Porzingis.
So we agree, and most would, that the East is wide open, but I think there are certainly tiers to that. Like you said, teams like New York, Cleveland being at the top. How many tiers down do we have to get to before we get to a team like Washington that, of course, just acquired C.J. McCollum and Kelly Olynyk from the New Orleans Pelicans in exchange for Jordan Poole?
I mean, we got to go a lot of tiers, Adam. I'm not trying to annoy the fans in D.C. What I will say about that, though, as they're rebuilding with their young core in Washington, I do find it interesting that they are trying to have some veteran presence there to try to help these young guys. So I kind of see the game on what they're doing here. And I think it's actually pretty smart as they're trying to develop. They're not just trying to lose. They're trying to get guys to understand winning. So having Chris Middleton, who just picked up his option, having CJ McCollum now in there, having also Marcus Smart in there is good. The thing about CJ McCollum and Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton, even though those guys are veterans that can help this team at the start of the year, I'm not sure they're going to be there past the trade deadline, because those are guys you can trade in the final year of their contract. So I think it's smart for the Wizards to try to get veteran guys in there at the start of camp and then look to move those guys by the deadline to try to add more assets as your young core grows. So the Wizards, I don't think they're anywhere near playoff contention. I think they will be better than they were last year, and they do have a nice young core that is coming there. But I see what they're doing. It's just they're trying to add some veterans in there, get some winners in there, and then try to sell those pieces off. So they have a plan. I can't say the Wizards don't have a plan, but they are in the lowest tier in the Eastern Conference, I would say.
FanDuel odds to win the Western Conference look like this in order, and I won't go through all the odds, but the teams in order: obviously the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder. Then you have the now Kevin Durant-led Houston Rockets. You have a team that people just keep respecting because they keep getting to the Final Four, Minnesota, led by Anthony Edwards. The Lakers, because who's quitting on Luka and LeBron, right? Denver Nuggets, who, that's a team that forever we should be respecting as long as Jokic is there. Then the Clippers, then the Warriors, then the Spurs, then the Mavericks, then the Grizzlies, and now finally the New Orleans Pelicans. And I'm not saying the Pelicans should necessarily, Dexter, be higher on the board, But when I look at a starting five, a projected starting five of DeJounte Murray, Jordan Poole, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Zion Williamson, if healthy, which always feels like a big if when you're talking about New Orleans, that's a team that I feel like can actually make a little noise.
I feel like they can, Adam. The thing is, does anybody trust a couple of those guys on that team to stay healthy? Is DeJounte Murray going to be healthy coming off his injury? Zion Williamson, we've seen when he's on the court, he can be really good. We still have not seen him be healthy and stay on the court. And I think that's why the odds makers are so low on them. Now, look, if you believe in the Pelicans to make the playoffs, I think that's a good bet for you there, because I agree with you. The talent's there in the starting five. They have some good defenders. They have some shooters. Maybe Jordan Poole might shoot a little bit too much, but I think there's some things you can like about this team. I don't think you're wrong in that. I just think it comes down to health, whether you believe in them staying healthy or not. But they are a dangerous team there in the West if they get their act together, because I do like their coach, Willie Green. I do like him.
Dexter, it is draft day, at least round one. Suddenly the NBA's decided to make this a two-day affair. But Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, VJ Edgecombe right now are the projected favorites to go in the top three positions. Does anything change that?
No, I don't think anything changed that. I think it's going to be pretty much chalk at the top. I think the only thing that will be interesting is do the Sixers trade out of the 3 pick? Do they trade out of there and does somebody move up? I would say keep an eye on the Brooklyn Nets, but I think it's pretty much the same at the top.
Dexter Henry again on Twitter at DHenryTV. He is from the New York Post, The Fan, Infinity Sports Network. He's all over the place, including here on SportsGrid. Dexter, thanks so much.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scotty, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Like, don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and okay, safe, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Back on NewsWire as we bring in our next guest. It is a regular here on SportsGrid if you like to watch or listen to the programming. That is Keith Stewart, one of the golf experts that joins the network regularly from Read the Line on Twitter at KJ Stewart PGA. Keith, how you been?
Oh, Adam, I'm fantastic. We just wrapped 3 majors and the signature season on the PGA Tour, and with 6 weeks to go until the playoffs, there's some middle-tier guys that are definitely envious of some FedEx Cup points and a lot of storylines out in Detroit.
So to that point, obviously there's no Scotty Scheffler, there's no Rory McIlroy coming up this week in the Rocket Mortgage Classic, but plenty of name recognition if you're a golf fan. You know, the betting favorite on FanDuel to win this event, not by a wide margin, is Colin Morikawa at 12-1. So just that in and of itself, you don't have this like Scotty Scheffler plus 450 or something. You have Morikawa at 12-1. Patrick Cantlay at 16-1. Keegan Bradley, as people can see, 18-1. You also have Ben Griffin, Cam Young, Siwoo Kim, the list goes on. But, you know, there are some names here at the top of the board. Who jumps out at you?
Oh, boy. A lot of names jump out at me, Adam, but they don't necessarily jump out in a positive way. I start at the top there with your betting favorite, Colin Morikawa. He's announced this week again that he's going to switch caddies. Joey Griner, who was the former caddy for Max Homa after a 2-month stint, he's out the door. A revolving door of change there of what seems like in the Colin Morikawa camp as he tries to pull off a win for the first time since the fall of 2023. Patrick Cantlay, a guy who, you know, was a perennial top 10 in the world, is now 20th in the world. I mean, these guys not only do they need a win, but they need Ryder Cup points. They need all the above in order to be a part of where their careers have been over the last couple of years. I mean, you got to love Keegan. I mean, Captain America gets the job done over, you know, another Fleetwood failure, you know, 42 top 10s by Tommy Fleetwood, the poor guy. I mean, that camera angle that they showed on social media of him putting his head in his arm when Keegan made the final putt, I mean, it just breaks your heart. It didn't break my heart or my bank because I had Keegan at 35-1 at Read the Line, but I do feel bad for the guy because, man, that's a lot of top 10s and a lot of times coming close. And then, you know, the last guy there, Ben Griffin, he's probably the favorite or the best player right there on the book, on the betting odds board right there. I mean, 2 wins in the last couple of months. You know, he was 14th last week at the Travelers, 10th at the U.S. Open. He's playing very, very well, and he continues to play each and every week. So at the top of the board, not really sure about what to make of Morikawa, but, man, Ben Griffin, he sure looks good.
So this event here, which of course begins early tomorrow morning Eastern at the Detroit Golf Club, like you said, I mean, there are a lot of guys with a lot at stake and important motivations here with respect to the playoffs here in this tournament, which is why they're, of course, participating. That being said, who has, you know, as in the spirit of like course horses, for instance, and being able to really key in on strengths here at this particular venue, who has an advantage?
Well, I tell you what, as a writer full time, I love my alliteration, right? So I'm going to give you Keith's keys real quick. You know, the first thing is that you got to be a great approach player, Adam, right? You know, more than 50% of the approach shots this week are going to come from inside 150 yards. That means it's a wedge fest. The second thing is that if you're going to hit them close and you're going to have nice proximity to the hole, you're going to have a ton of birdie chances, then you got to be a good putter. The average winning score here in 6 editions of the Rocket Classic is 22 under par. Vegas set the line this week for the winning score at 22.5 under par. And the third thing is that you might as well let the shaft out because we're in the Motor City, so hit drive. Because the longer players, the guys that can really hit driver and take advantage off the tee are some of the best that we are going to see this week near the top of the leaderboard. Cam Davis has won here twice, Bryson DeChambeau back in the day, Tony Finau. So as I looked at the board, those are the things that I'm favoring. Those are my keys, and that's why near the top of the board, my favorite has got to be Cam Young. You know, last year he was 6th here. A couple of years ago in 2022, he was runner-up. You know, he's had 2 4th-place finishes on tour very recently, and he kind of fits that mold: driver, wedge, and putter. Forget the fact that he's the number 1 putter in the field, but guess what? You know, this guy's from the Northeast. He's going to know those types of greens.
So Cam Young at 25-1 to win the event is, you know, everyone has a different approach, as you know, Keith, to betting golf when it comes to sprinkling outrights or placement plays, whatever it may be. If you're making just one bet, which is, you know, blasphemy, I realize, but one bet on this golf event weekend, what jumps out to you is just a favorite potential money-making opportunity?
I'll go Ben Griffin top 10. You can get him on different books in the plus 250, plus 260 range. He's the best player in the field, playing the best. Go for him and take the ticket to the window on Sunday.
Love the sound of that. Keith Stewart again, KJ Stewart PGA on Twitter. He is from Read the Line. Keith, enjoy the air conditioning, enjoy the stay at home and not traveling for this one. We'll talk to you again soon.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis, because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
It was the first time, I think, in Dodgers history that the ballpark was full in the first inning. Everybody was there to see Shohei Ohtani throw his first pitch as a Dodger, and I had mixed emotions about this for a few reasons. Number one, it was a reminder of, wow, this is so crazy, right? You're watching him hit 98, 99, even 100 on the radar gun going, this guy's not human. Nobody should be able to be this good of a hitter or this good of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
As we know, it's just we enter every year and it's, is this the Ravens' time? Is this Lamar Jackson's turn? Can they get past the Chiefs and all of these other, stalwarts of the AFC? But it's always really about Kansas City when we're talking Baltimore.
This potentially, Adam, as I send it back to you, potentially is a game changer in that you get a very talented quarter at a discount price.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Oklahoma City now becomes one of 4 NBA teams ever, one of 3 NBA champs ever to win at least 84 total regular season and postseason games.
It's just the beginning, Ben, and you just look at a team with, these guys at such a young age, and, Chet's got a team option, Ismail Dieng has a team option, Jalen Williams team option, Keyshawn Wallace team option. Hey, Ben, they're all coming back.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back here on NewsWire as we bring in Sam McQuillan, who is a weekly guest here from Legal Sports Report. You can get him on Twitter at Sam_McQuill. Sam, good to see you again.
Yeah, Adam, great to see you.
So let's get into some of what you've been writing about here, obviously, and people should check out LegalSportsReport.com for all the latest around just the gambling, the betting space, never mind going to sweepstakes and casino and so on and so forth. But the NCAA sports betting rules, again, as you've written, could shift with a vote on pro wagering, obviously surrounding what athletes, what staff are able to do. It's all, generally tends to put people's brains in a pretzel. So I'm going to allow you to unravel it a little bit and tell people what they should expect going forward.
Yeah, thanks. I'll try to do my best. It's always difficult when you're talking about rules for the NCAA, for college athletes, which, as we know, just the way we even define what a college athlete is has rapidly changed over the past couple of years. So there's going to be a vote that's actually expected today where the Division I Council in the NCAA is going to vote whether or not they're going to lift a prohibition that currently prevents college athletes, coaches, and staffers from betting on professional sports that are sponsored by the NCAA. So, the NCAA has a lot of partnerships with the NFL, NBA. This would effectively, kind of get rid of this big rule that some see as maybe an oversight, allowing, these students and these athletes and coaches to pretty much have the same rights that normal college students have. Anytime you talk about, betting and college athletes, it can kind of get, people can get kind of worried. So this wouldn't allow, I want to be clear, this wouldn't allow, athletes to bet on their own sports. Like if I'm playing for, the Penn State football team, I wouldn't be allowed to bet on the spread of the game. That would still very much be illegal. And I don't think we're ever going to get that rule to change. But there's going to be a vote this week. If that vote happens, then if that's approved, then the D2 Council and the D3 Council in July are going to have to come and also, rectify the agreement and approve it as well. But the D1 Council is kind of the big hurdle. Usually what they do is then followed by the Division II Council and Division III Council. So yeah, it sounds like a big change, but it's really more of a minor kind of thing. And it seems like, from what I'm hearing so far, that it has a lot of support.
Well, and part of what you wrote about in this article as well is, the NCAA probe that at Iowa and Iowa State that found more than 100 athletes, staffers violated betting rules. Some did wager on their own teams, which obviously, as you noted, is a no-no. Then 2023, we had the investigation with the University of Alabama, fired its baseball coach after suspicious betting activity. I think the sort of where it gets, there are so many areas where it gets kind of, gray would put it kindly. But one of them, you mentioned it, like, let's say you play for the Penn State football team and all right, you want to play, forget college, you want to place a wager on the NFL. Well, what if, old teammate of mine at Penn State's now in the NFL playing for the Steelers, and I can contact him and get some insider info on what's going on in the injury report midweek before I feel like a spread is going to move or something like that. So that's where just, all of this gets very cloudy, for lack of a better word, because they're just, these relationships extend as far as they do.
Yeah, definitely. And the NFL, it's cloudy for them as well. They have rules that literally say, don't tell your friends and family inside betting info. But again, how do you discern what that is? If you text your buddy, yeah, my leg really hurts, I don't think I'm going to play. Is that inside betting info if they go and use it without you knowing? So it is very cloudy and very muddy. But for what it's about for the NCAA is, again, like those instances you mentioned, those, they've seen various scandals pop up over the past couple of years when sports betting has been legal. They want to reduce the work for the NCAA to have to deal with these, what they call small scale violations. Obviously, they want to focus on the bigger ones where maybe a student is trying to throw a game. We've seen investigations at Temple, we've seen investigations at Fresno State tied to actual, throwing a game. I think the NCAA doesn't want to deal with these more smaller scale violations. And part of that too is, trying to destigmatize, if I get a betting violation or if I'm not sure about what's going on, they want to make sure these kids are getting help. They want to make sure that they're okay to come to the NCAA and talk about things, ask about things. They've rapidly ramped up their education. So a lot of this is, about kind of decriminalizing things that maybe, shouldn't be looked at in that light, treating it as more of a mental health issue and treating it now more as an addiction kind of topic instead of just sports betting taboo. We're going to suspend you, your career is over.
Sam, in California, which, if you're a big fan of, again, just gambling, sweepstakes, casino, you name it, California's, what you might call a problem state. Gambling is limited to the tribal nations, and sweepstakes is trying to get in there, and California legislators have now introduced a sweepstakes casino ban, which is just, further delaying this. I guess what I want to ask first and foremost is, are we delaying the inevitable, or is this going to just be something that drags on and on and on, never quite gets resolved to where residents of California are able to gamble and bet in the way that they wish to?
So I think that's what it all comes down to. Eventually, you will be able to bet legally, maybe not in all 50 states, but close to it. And California is definitely going to be one. The big roadblock there, like you alluded to, has been tribes, not wanting to make a deal where they lose any of their rights. They're only going to want to allow sports betting to happen on their own terms. And we've very much seen that in the state. Then meanwhile, you have these sweepstakes operators that are operating right now in the state of California. You can bet with them, you can play with them. They operate under this model, which they're basically offering these online casino games and sports betting games to customers, allowing them the option to play them for free, although most don't do that. Most are exchanging real money like you would on a sports book or casino. They've been able to do that in California, kind of skirting the law by calling themselves sweepstake operators. And now you have lawmakers that have proposed a bill that would really ban that practice, make it explicitly clear that, no, we see this as illegal gambling. We don't want to allow it to continue. Now, to your point, the more you kind of illegalize these different gambling mechanisms that try to skirt around that, the more pressure kind of builds into, well, there is a huge demand in California for sports betting. That's a reason, I'm sure if FanDuel and DraftKings were legal in California, sweepstakes would not be focused on it at all. It wouldn't be a huge market for them. We've only seen the big states like Texas, California, and even Florida, where there's only one sports betting option that's legal. Those are really the big states for sweepstakes. But now that you have lawmakers actually taking action, trying to push them out, it wouldn't only make them illegal, it would also ban, payment processors, financial institutions, even celebrities from promoting these platforms. We've seen celebrities like Drake and Ryan Seacrest promote these platforms online just because they're getting paid to. And there's no law that's really saying it's legal, so they've been able to do it. So this would make that happen. This would kind of cut off their business, not just give the legal weight of the law behind this. So sweepstakes operators, it seems they're trying to persist. They're trying to make arguments that, this is going to hurt legitimate businesses and have a bigger, wide-reaching effect. I don't know whether that will actually, how much that will matter to lawmakers that, are very much loyal to the tribes and potentially very much loyal to the operators if they ever want to get a deal done there. So for sweepstakes, it looks like this might be the beginning of the end. But with, legalized gambling, this should only push the focus more on, okay, now we've gotten rid of these illegal operators. How do we make sure we have legal options? Because there's definitely a demand.
Some states, Sam, where gambling is legal, of course. Maryland and Louisiana increased their base tax rates this season. Illinois legislators added a per-bet tax. Colorado promo deductions were eliminated. You're in New York. New Jersey's about to make some changes. What do we have in front of us?
Yeah, New Jersey's already the third state so far this year that is really close to changing its sports betting tax rate. You mentioned Ohio, Louisiana, Illinois, Maryland. All these states have ramped up or doubled their tax rates over the past year. New Jersey, one of the first states to legalize sports betting. There's a proposal right now in budget talks with the governor to up it from about 13% to almost 20%. So that would be a huge increase in New Jersey, and part of a trend we're seeing of more and more states doing this. And sports books have responded with fees in Illinois. We'll see how they respond in New Jersey if this gets through. But definitely something the sports books are not having fun dealing with, is just seeing more and more states up their taxes, especially such an old school kind of sports betting one like New Jersey, which is a huge market.
Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report joins us weekly here on NewsWire. Get him on Twitter at Sam_McQuillan. Thanks, Sam.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis, because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Was the first time, I think, in Dodgers history that the ballpark was full in the first inning. Everybody was there to see Shohei Ohtani throw his first pitch as a Dodger, and I had mixed emotions about this for a few reasons. Number one, it was a reminder of, wow, this is so crazy, right? You're watching him hit 98, 99, even 100 on the radar gun, going, this guy's not human. Nobody should be able to be this good of a hitter and this good of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
As we know, it's just we enter every year, and it's, is this the Ravens' time? Is this Lamar Jackson's turn? Can they get past the Chiefs and all of these other stalwarts of the AFC? But it's always really about Kansas City when we're talking Baltimore.
This potentially, Adam, as I send it back to you, potentially is a game changer in that you get a very talented quarter at a discount price.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Oklahoma City now becomes one of 4 NBA teams ever, one of 3 NBA champs ever to win at least 84 total regular season and postseason games.
It's just the beginning, Ben, and you just look at a team with, these guys at such a young age, and, Chet's got a team option, Ismail Dieng has a team option, Jalen Williams team option, Keyshawn Wallace team option. Hey, Ben, they're all coming back.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Back on NewsWire as we continue the conversation sort of surrounding the business of sport. Obviously with Sam McQuillan, it was a lot more about the gambling and sweepstakes and casino side of things. Our next guest joining us here, Simon Applebaum, who you can get on Twitter at UBC Simon TWBT. From, of course, tomorrow will be televised, producer and host of the program, going to help us break down the ratings and other television elements of things. Simon, good to see you.
You too, Adam. Thanks for filling in today. And coming to you, by the way, from our revamped studios, which a lot of people are going to see on SportsGrid tonight for the first time with the NBA draft coverage ahead.
Awesome. Very much looking forward to that. And as you noted, special live programming here on SportsGrid tonight from both New York and New Jersey. It should be a lot of fun, so make sure people tune into that and see who goes where after, of course, Cooper flagged to Dallas. But going back to the NBA Finals, which recently wrapped up, and Oklahoma City paraded throughout the streets yesterday for a couple hours, as we know there in OKC. Game 7, as you noted, we had some really great ratings on ESPN and ABC between Oklahoma City and Indiana for that Finals Game 7. Again, the average audience north of 16 million viewers. Peak audience was almost 20 million, and there were so much of the conversation going into the finals was two small market teams, who's going to watch. Well, finds out, what it turns out when you get a great series and guys obviously, playing hard on both sides and it's compelling and it's a good watch and it's interesting, people are going to find it.
They sure did. They sure did with Game 7, and credit goes to ABC and ESPN and the ESPN family of networks because they really pulled all the stops out to make sure that for the first time ever, the NBA final overall ratings, the average was not below 10 million viewers. It was going to be. Through 6 games, the average viewership was 9.2 million. That's through Game 6. As you mentioned, the game on Sunday, and of course, Tyrese Halliburton and the incredible injury he suffered early on in the game, even drew more interest, 16.4 million people watching. That is the best NBA Finals viewership in years, and it brought the viewership up, for the average, to 10.2 million. So Adam Silver and the gang at the NBA front office are facing a real sigh of relief. And again, I think the reason why is because the promotion and the publicity stops were pulled all out. You had promos on ABC, on ESPN, on ESPN2. ESPN Radio talked about the Game 7 all over the place. I thought the promos themselves were really good. They focused on both teams. They featured Mike Breen's calls and his thoughts about the game. And in the end, Game 7, no matter what the sport is, you're going to get a bigger viewership for it because simply it is a Game 7. That is it. And I thought that both the Pacers and the Thunder did really, really well. 2 other winners, by the way, out of the coverage. One, I think the NBA draft coverage on this network, on ABC, on ESPN, will be the best ever because of what happened and because of all the trades that have happened since then. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, so on and so forth, all the machinations. And Oklahoma City, I think, also could win because they might be in position now to get an NFL franchise. There have been internet videos on YouTube suggesting that the NFL might add 1 or 2 expansion teams at the earliest next year, which would bring the teams up to 33 or 34. And Oklahoma City, because of the fact that the Thunder did so well, they may now be considered a major, major, major city to put a new team in.
Something to watch going forward for sure. While we've got you, I want to explore this because I find it really interesting, and you can fill in the gaps for me and for our audience as well. How are Walmart via Vizio and Alexa and sports betting all linked together?
Well, it's all about the fact that now we have smart TV sets and smart TV devices that now have, because of artificial intelligence built in, the ability for people to use their remote control, to use a voice-activated remote, and to use a audio feature service like Siri or Alexa or soon Alexa Plus to do all sorts of things, including placing sports bets. As we've mentioned, ESPN this fall with their new mega content service is going to introduce a sports betting feature. The issue is, can the feature be A, easy to use, B, consumer friendly, and C, most importantly, be safe and secure so it doesn't end up being scammed? And Walmart and Alexa Plus are 2 possibilities. Last week at Cannes Lyon, the big TV advertising World's Fair in France, the Walmart executive engineered the deal to acquire Vizio, the smart TV set which has 18 million users, said up front in a Bloomberg interview, we are going to introduce very soon a way for people to order products and services on Vizio smart TV sets with their remote control. No QR code somewhere on the TV screen. You put the smartphone up next to it, and then the smartphone does the rest. You do it all through the television set. And on top of that, Alexa Plus, which is the generative AI version of Alexa, which gives you more personalized conversation to all sorts of transactions, that was showcased initially here in New York in February. They went from having 100,000 subscribers at the start of May MLB TV, their streaming service, and some of the games are also running on ESPN. The key is publicity. ESPN is not doing a good job so far, as well as MSG Network and other regional networks that are carrying these games. They need to step it up in terms of PR so that they can get the audience.
Simon Applebaum, once again, is the producer and host of Tomorrow Will Be Televised. Always enjoy when you are with us here on SportsGrid. Of course, Simon exploring all of the TV happenings and technological happenings around all things sports betting and ratings. It's very interesting. So once again, thanks for being with us.
Hey, pleasure, Adam. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Absolutely. Again.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Was the first time, I think, in Dodgers history that the ballpark was full in the first inning. Everybody was there to see Shohei Ohtani throw his first pitch as a Dodger, and I had mixed emotions about this for a few reasons. Number one, it was a reminder of, wow, this is so crazy, right? You're watching him hit 98, 99, even 100 on the radar gun going, this guy's not human. Nobody should be able to be this good of a hitter or this good of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
As we know, it's just we enter every year and it's, is this the Ravens' time? Is this Lamar Jackson's turn? Can they get past the Chiefs and all of these other, stalwarts of the AFC? But it's always really about Kansas City when we're talking Baltimore.
This potentially, Adam, as I send it back to you, potentially is a game changer in that you get a very talented quarter at a discount price.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Oklahoma City now becomes one of 4 NBA teams ever, one of 3 NBA champs ever to win at least 84 total regular season and postseason games.
It's just the beginning, Ben, and you just look at a team with, these guys at such a young age, and, Chet's got a team option, Ismail Dieng has a team option, Jalen Williams team option, Keyshawn Wallace team option. Hey, they're all coming back.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Here on NewsWire on SportsGrid, thanks for hanging out with us during this hour. A lot of great guests, obviously. Most recently, Simon Applebaum. Before him, Sam McQuillan. We had Dexter Henry on earlier and Keith Stewart as well. Frank and Luke behind the scenes making everything possible. So we appreciate everyone and you out there watching and listening as well. Make sure you stay with us here on SportsGrid throughout the day and especially this evening because we will have special draft programming beginning at 7:30 Eastern on the grid from both New York, our revamped studio there, as Simon was talking about, in New Jersey. And so you get to see the new studio and hear from a lot of the familiar talent here on the SportsGrid airwaves as well. Let's get into some last licks on NewsWire. All right, well, we begin in Denver. So one of the big talking points going around the NBA right now is, and I've spent a lot of time on it these last couple of days, the second apron and teams like the Boston Celtics, not keeping its core together, trading away multiple starters, not because it doesn't believe it can contend, but because this relatively new CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, is basically, for lack of a better way of putting it, strongly encouraging, if not enforcing, parity. And we've discussed how Adam Silver, the commissioner, has now had presided over 9 champions in just his dozen years, whereas David Stern previously, in 3 decades, there were only 8. A lot of these changes that deal especially monetarily have impacted how teams can build their teams, construct their teams, and also if and when they're able to keep those teams together and for how long. And so we've seen teams like the Celtics get off the contracts of Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, get themselves below the second apron. They are still above the first apron, which comes along with a whole world of tax penalties. But just to put it in some round numbers that might be easier to digest, as of 10 days ago, the Boston Celtics were staring at a total bill, salary and tax, of about $500 million for next year, which would have blown away the NBA record. And just moving these two guys, Porzingis and Holiday, who again do not make this money, but because of the tax ramifications of it for ownership, their commitment for next year is down to $200 million. They have shaved off north of $200 million off of that $500 million. And it's just a monumental change. So this is what teams are actively staying conscious of, trying to avoid having to make difficult decisions. And what we heard yesterday was Josh Kroenke, owner of the Denver Nuggets, discussing unprompted just some of the potential, again, moves or general, team building strategies that they need to be aware of when it comes to this team. And he, out of nowhere, he said, I don't want to have to trade number 15, which of course is Nikola Jokic, the best player on planet Earth, as far as I'm concerned. And most people would agree, a champion, a multiple-time MVP, all of that. Reason it came up, and it's been made, people have made a really big deal out of this, a bigger deal than is necessary. But the reason it has come up is because, again, he said, with our injury history, the wrong guy goes down. We have these, financial obligations. We'd hate to have to deal 15 in order to get under that second apron or first apron or whatever it may be. Again, I think he's just spelling out the realities of the situation. Not all of a sudden Nuggets fans need to be on high alert that, Jokic could get traded. Oh my goodness. I don't think any of that is in the near future, if ever, for the Denver Nuggets. Meanwhile, Kyrie Irving has decided to stick around with the Dallas Mavericks. He opted to decline his $43 million player option, but sign a 3-year, $119 million contract with the franchise that will include a player option in the 2027-28 year. Of course, the new league year has not begun. We're a week or so away from that, and so nothing can become official until then. That's when all these trades that you keep hearing about will become official. Free agent signings once those get going, and deals like this. Good on Kyrie Irving. Look, I believed when he went there that we knew one of two things was going to be true, or at least I believed one of two things. Either Luka's gone first or Kyrie's gone first, but these two are not going to coexist for too long. Now, where I was wrong was Luka really didn't want to go. That was an ownership decision. Again, looking to save money and dealing him away to the Lakers. So that was not on Kyrie Irving. But he is now, along with Anthony Davis, and soon Cooper Flagg, the faces of that Dallas Mavericks franchise. And quickly to wrap things up with the Boston Celtics, Drew Holiday, according to Steve Bulpett from Heavy.com, is, quote, pissed about his trade to the Portland Trailblazers. And I should say trade back to the Portland Trailblazers, where he was before landing with Boston, although he never actually played for them. Will he this time, or is he on the way out? We'll see. Stay with us on NewsWire all week and SportsGrid all day long to get draft programming tonight beginning at 7:30 Eastern.